Hey everyone, we're back. Tammy and Esther with Culture and Clients. Nice to see you guys today. We have been talking about setting goals. Esther,
Yeah.
I go with friends every year. Actually, it was my one friend, Emily Fisher, and I went for years in the winter to set goals. We usually go on a beach somewhere, Jamaica, St. Croix. This year, we invited another friend along
Nice.
and we were talking about goal setting. And you brought up a great point. You said, I think it's great about goal setting, but how are they executing
Mhm.
those?
Yes.
So that's going to be the topic that we're discussing today about how to actually execute them. Like I know in my life, back in 2020, I don't know about you, Esther, but in 2020, when COVID hit, we have a hot tub at home, we have a theater room. I really embraced like
Yeah.
baking and cooking and
Yeah.
making cocktails and getting in the hot tub. And each month I saw the scale go up.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I gained quite a bit of weight. And it's like being in my late 40s, it took a long time to get that weight off. But for several years, I had the same goal every year: lose 50 pounds, lose 50 pounds. But I never had the execution to do it. I
Right.
knew what I needed to do,
Right.
but I didn't have the execution. Like, is there a goal in your life that you found that you've set every year, but it never really comes to fruition?
Yeah. One of the challenges I have is I have an idea of a goal, but until I don't like write it down until I have a plan almost. So
Yeah.
every year we do kind of like New Year's resolutions, but it's really like, what do I want to do this year? What are things that I want to accomplish and grow and do things? So, but then I've learned, here's the trick. And I think we're going to talk about this. It's an execution for goals. And it's same with companies and strategy. Like think of goals as also like strategy. Maybe you use an OKR methodology, something like that, and we have these lofty goals: increase revenue by 20%,
Mhm.
reduce costs by 10%. Well, then I if you don't bring the whole team on board, or if I don't bring my
Mhm.
whole family on board with the project, or if I don't have a plan for me to execute it, then I don't make the progress that I want to make. It's really a common thing I've seen, and especially for founders where all the ideas are out here floating around in the
Mhm.
world and then getting them like systemized.
Yeah.
So something that we have talked about is the systemization. What I've started was several years ago. My example is I wanted to start working out because again, we're both in that same boat. Late 40s. Hello, perimenopause. Hello, hello.
Yeah. Isn't that fantastic?
Oh my God. And I wanted to be able to spend time with my grandkids. So when my kids get older in many,
Mhm.
many years, and when they are having kids, I want to be able to play with those kids and have fun with my grandkids, right?
Act grandma or nona or whatever you decide that
Yeah,
month.
whatever. Oh my God, I would be an Elma, which is a little bit weird to me
Oh,
because
that's cool. Elmo?
that's a whole nother situation. Like we should have a side note at some point
Yeah.
talking about weird nicknames that families have. So I wanted to have this goal. I had this goal. That's my goal. I want to be able to play with my
Mhm.
grandkids. Well, how do you break that down? And I've always done workouts and I was always an all the way in or nothing. Like I would do workout programs that were crazy for 12 weeks. And after it's done, I'm so exhausted. I just can't keep it up.
Yeah.
So I shifted and I said, and I wasn't very motivated. I was motivated like this much. So I said, you know what? I'm going to do this much. And I made a goal for 5 minutes every day to work out. That was it, 5 minutes. Because I
Yeah.
couldn't make an excuse
It's
not to do
something.
5 minutes.
Some Yeah.
It was something. But once I standardized that and I built the habit, so every morning I got up, 5 minutes. You can find 5 minutes.
Yeah.
You can find 5 minutes. If people are like, oh, I should wish I worked, go 5 minutes. Like sometimes
And
it was,
here's the thing, once you start on the 5 minutes, you end up doing it longer. Like, for me, one of
yes,
the biggest issues I have is organization. Like, I don't tend to file paperwork right away, so then I have a big
yeah,
stack of things. So
yes,
one of my goals was setting aside 15 minutes a day to organize my paperwork, and then
yes,
I look over and my stack's gone, and I'm like, "Yay," but
yeah.
sometimes I'll get into it and I'm like, "Okay, 15 minutes is up, but I need to finish this."
Yeah, they
Same
finish just
thing
one
with
little piece.
same thing
You'll
with
do more,
working
but
out.
you've built the habit too. So the
Yeah.
key thing for me was like, all right, do 5 minutes. Okay, then I could do 10 minutes. And
Mhm.
then, oh, well, I might as well do 15. Like, what's the difference between 10 and 15? Well, let's get to 20 or 25. So then it became like, all right, my goal is and has been 45 minutes. And now it's going to grow to 60. So my goal is throughout the
Fantastic.
day to get 6 minutes of activity and exercise, whether that's go, and it's easier in the summers. Like,
Mhm.
we live up north, so it's like winters are cold, but that's one of my goals in my mind is like I want to get to that 60 minutes and get outside every day, even when it's cold. So I'm making this goal for myself, and now it's on a podcast. So dang it, I'm gonna have to really do it.
I ended up doing it last night at 9:37 at night, and I usually go to bed at 10 because
Yep.
I like to get my 8 hours of sleep, and I get up at
Yes.
6. But I'm
Yes.
like, "You know what? This was on my list today. It was on my list for 7:30 in the morning. Did I do it at 7:30? No,
Yeah.
but I still got it done." Um,
Yes.
I used to invest in a personal trainer.
Yes.
That like in 2024, I'm like, you know what? I'm tired of making the same goal every year. Like I need to invest in this. So I invested in a personal trainer every Monday, Wednesday at 8:30 in the morning. I worked out with my friend Emily, who I vacation,
Yeah.
and Megan at Absolute Unit Fitness. And it was fantastic. But then as I was setting my financial goals and I'm looking at what needs to be trimmed
Yeah.
back, I'm like, I hate to cut this back. So about 2 months ago, I stopped the personal training, but
Yep.
for a month, I didn't do any personal training. I still walked my dog and stuff. But
Yep.
just recently, I'm like, I need to get back on track with this because now I'm
Right.
starting to gain the weight back.
Yeah, you've got to stay active. So I think when we think about goal setting, you do have to consider all those things into practice. And especially if you're in a sales team and you're saying, hey, we really want to increase revenue by 20%. That's our goal. Everybody go sell harder.
Yeah.
I don't even know what
Go
that
get 'em.
means. Go get them. It's like saying, like, yeah, go work out more. Like, what's my actual plan? So thinking through uh, like, logistically is a good way I've
Mhm,
thought through, like, how would I fit this in? So what does sell harder mean? What do I mean? Do I need more sales team members? Do I need to change my activities? And sometimes it's
mhm,
bringing that group in. So for our family, we would have when we set goals for the year, it's the same I would do for my team. I have ideas like goals like, hey, we need to increase revenue and we want to go beyond where we were last year. So let's do like a 20%. If we did 20% growth, what would that look like? What
mhm.
would that take? What would our fulfillment look like?
Yeah.
How many leads would we have to get? How much sales and closing? What kind of projects is it going to take to do this? So really thinking through the logistics of it. It's the same when we talk as a family, like, hey, we want to spend more time playing games, less time on electronics. What
Mhm.
does that mean? Well, let's
Yeah.
set a goal. We like playing games, like playing board games. We like spending time with families and people we don't get to spend time with. So we've started inviting families over and
Oh,
friends
that's
over once
cool.
a month. And
Mhm.
it's a board game night. So we sit
Yeah.
around, we play a board game, we might get the fire pit going, we'll do something fun, but it's really this like, let's get off of electronics and spend time
Yeah.
together as a family.
I had the same goal with my family a few years ago, and we all went around the table and talked about what we enjoyed doing. And one of the common denominators was bowling. So Andy
Nice.
found like a family bowling league that we
Yep.
joined, and this year will be our third year doing it. And then last year we did the same thing, and golf was something that they wanted to learn. So then we started golfing together, and that gets pricey.
Yeah, the
We ended
the
up
golf
looking into, like, joining a country club, and, turns out, like, the Chambersburg Country Club, if you're non-resident, it's only $219 a month.
Oh,
Like, that is super affordable, and there's not a huge, like, initiation fee, like, but and for
who said
us, like, Chambersburg's an extra 10-minute drive than what
yeah,
other golf
right.
courses are.
Other places
But
were local.
that's something that
Yeah.
we're doing as a family, but now talking about, like, social goals, now I'm having fun golfing with other friends that like to golf too, so that kinda
Yes.
trickles into my social. But something you had mentioned about, like, 20%, like, increasing business
Mhm.
20%. I remember when I worked in radio sales, they wanted us to make, I think, 20 calls a day. They wanted us to have 10 appointments a week, you know, and it was the activity, which is great. But the thing was, there was a lot of activity, but there wasn't a lot of sales being closed. And I was one of the top 10 reps in the country. So I went to my manager. I was pretty young. I was like in my early 20s. And I said, "Hey, what do you think about me riding along with the newer reps and having like a mentor program and I teach them how to sell and I earn a commission on their sales." And they agreed to it. So I ended up earning, I think it was
Yeah.
like 2% on whatever new business these reps
Yeah.
brought in, but I loved it to like try to come alongside a newer rep and teach them because like in radio sales, I don't know if you've ever been pitched radio or TV, but a lot of times it may not happen now, but back in the day, it was always we're number 1, we're number 1. Well, what if you're not number 1 anymore? What's your story then, you know? So, just learning what the client's needs are, seeing if it
Yes.
matches the audience that you're targeting, that type of
Yes.
thing. That's how I
Yes.
taught them to sell. But what happened is we started seeing more new business coming in. We started seeing the results of that. Not only the activity, but noticing when an employee has a lot of activity, but nothing's really happening. Like, do you have somebody that's going to step in if you as the manager can't? Is there somebody on your team that could step in and
Mhm.
help that person out?
Yeah, and those are really interesting goals that you can set. So we're talking a lot about goal setting, breaking goals into smaller pieces, and then still having metrics associated with those smaller pieces.
Mhm.
So we think of a big goal like 20% increase in sales. How are we going to do it? What are the initiatives that we need? What is that? So what does sales look like? And then what are the initiatives that we need to get there? So for example, if we want to increase sales by 20%, and we know, like I just know if I can make 100 more calls this month, I'll be able to reach that goal. So then I can look at that schedule, look at that timing, start figuring
Mhm.
out how do I make that work. But let's say that it's really difficult. If I do those 100 calls, I'm not going to get to the close. So logistically, again, you're kind of like looking through the plan. So you
Mhm.
have the goal, you're setting the sub goals that are going to lead to that result. And then I can think about, all right, well, I can't make 100 calls. How would I get another person in to make it? Do we
Mhm.
outsource some of those calls? Do we automate some of those calls? So, or do we just say, you know what, really, we don't want to make 100 calls. What if we could make 20 calls and have a better close rate?
Or look into other opportunities. Like for
Right.
me, when I started Vast Strategies, I don't do any cold calling anymore. I did it a lot back in the day, but I don't anymore. It's not that I don't think it's valuable. I personally just don't really like it that much.
No, who does? I mean, there's only a handful of people. There's some crazy folk out there that like to do cold calling. I am not one of them.
Yeah. Yeah. But I've developed such great relationships that I get a lot of referrals, but I also get it because I join networking groups.
Yep.
So if you think about it, you join a networking group, there's 20 people in the networking group. Now you have 20 salespeople. Like I just closed two website designs in the past month because of a lead that I got through the networking group.
Right.
And then I'm getting leads from past customers as well.
Yes. Yes.
So a lot of times developing those relationships with your existing customers leads to introductions.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's thinking through like your sales process. I was just talking to someone too who his company, he was working for a company he said it was years ago and in the medical device, and they were still selling on feature benefit. He's like,
Mhm.
"You've got to be kidding me." He knew that this wasn't how you sell. We need to
Yeah.
sell on client motivation and client drivers. And so he focused on that, which was this is something to keep in mind, I think, as owners, really, really keep this in mind. If you have a salesperson that's excelling
Mhm.
and they are doing something different, find out
Yeah.
what they're doing. Because
Mhm.
a lot of times, like, he's like, they would send corporate with me to follow me around. And I'm like, I don't want corporate there because I can't. The corporate alignment, what they want as
Like it
metrics is like number of calls. He's like, I don't need to make more calls. Let's make me make less calls with better results. Isn't that
yeah.
what we really want? Activity does not equal.
And a lot of times it all works hand in hand. Making the calls
Sure.
works, networking works, having an opportunity to speak, speaking engagements. I get a lot of business from that.
Yeah.
Anybody that asks me to speak, I'm like, yeah, I'm happy to speak. West
Yes.
for Young Professionals asked me to speak. And they gave me like a slew of topics to choose from. I'm like, oh, these are all great topics. It was hard to
Yeah.
but I love, like, pouring into younger people too. But the last time I spoke at a young professional event, I ended up getting some business out of it. Not that I'm
Sure.
going in to get business because I really do wanna pour into other people, but there's other ways to go out there and increase
Right.
business and increase your brand without just picking up the phone and cold calling. I'm not saying
Right.
cold calling is not important,
Right.
it's a piece of the puzzle, though.
Be a piece of the puzzle, and sometimes it's not. Like for you, so you don't do cold calling now. I don't do cold calling. Like
Mhm.
why? Like what we sell and what we do isn't a part of that. But we set goals for ourselves, professionally, personally, that are based in best practice.
Yeah,
Okay. So,
yeah,
and we think about goals again. A lot of times, also setting a goal to make 100 calls is not the right goal. Let me just tell you right now.
yeah.
The goal is increase sales by X percentage.
Mhm.
Right. Then I can look at what's it going to take for me to do that. And that's where you bring in a team. So I think we need to make this number of calls. And one of your more seasoned people, sales team members will say something like, she'll say, well, what if we made less calls and we made calls based on this criteria? Because I've been
Yeah.
making calls based on this criteria and I'm making 50 calls and I've got a, 25% booking rate.
Yeah, yeah, but then what other things they can do, like, even though owners and businesses, the owners aren't doing the social media posting, but the businesses, right, for the
Hmm.
company. But are the reps posting on social?
Sure. Like,
That's
what are
the
the
track,
activities? But if we
you
think
know.
about goal setting, it's thinking about what are the activities that are important in
Mhm.
order to get the results that I want. And am I thinking through the setting the right
Yeah.
metrics? So we think
Yeah.
of goal setting, and then there's also metric measurement. Something else that's really, really critical. So it's I think one of the things we've anchored on is like setting smaller pieces. A second thing is involving the team that's required for fulfillment. Something else that I am really like I try to think about in setting those goals is setting them on the right objective. So
Yeah.
thinking through it as an objective and then metrics. And
Yeah.
then when you get to the metrics, one of the key things in metrics is, can you really get the data?
Mhm.
How accurate is the data? How am I tracking the data? This is something that a lot of organizations struggle with. For example, I'm working with a client and it's, hey, we want to reduce our churn rate. Well, do you know what your current churn rate is? Do you have a way to track that? I want to increase the value of my subscriber. Well, how would I track that? Like,
Yeah.
there's these metrics that I want that I need to have a profitable business, but how do I get that data?
Yeah.
So sometimes it's been like, wow, what I really want to know is the total value, lifetime value of a subscriber.
Mhm.
So if that's what I want to know, maybe I have to say, you know what, that's a future state. This year, all we're going to do is figure out how to get there.
Yeah.
And that's okay too.
Yeah. Yeah. That's hard to get that information, like the value of a subscriber, unless you're actually knowing the name of the subscriber and talking to them, and then you're able to backtrack and look at your system and be like,
Yeah.
"Oh, that's Tammy Bassfinder. She placed X amount of
Yes.
business with us this year."
And it's possible. And with technology backends, yes, you can get there.
Yeah.
But most companies aren't set up to do that.
Yeah.
So when we think about goal setting, also thinking about like, what do I want to measure and can I measure it
Mhm.
accurately? Because what you don't want is someone to waste their time trying to pull a bunch of numbers together, you know,
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
get that in.
Something I learned through the Sandler training with Kate Kohler is the care concept. And they talk about like care spelled with a K. So K, keeping existing customers happy.
Yes.
And by doing so, staying in contact with
Right.
customers. We talked about
Right.
like the check-in process. How's everything
Right.
going? Is there anything that we could do to make life easier for you? That's where you ask for introductions. That's where you ask for Google reviews. Attain is attaining your customers. R is recapture. So I remember
Yeah.
when I worked in radio sales, they said any business that hasn't been on air for 18 months is considered new business. So as a new sales rep, I went to like the accounting department and I said, "Can you pull a list of all of the advertisers that have not advertised with us in the
Right.
past 18 months?" They gave me a list. I called them. "Hey Esther, I see that you advertised with us July of," this was back in
Yeah.
like 1900.
19 murder, murder, murder.
'Cause I started there in 2001, so anyway, some customers were very mean. They were like, "I did not have a good experience, blah, 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 blah," and I'm like, "You know what? I'm really sorry to hear that. That was a different rep. If you'd be willing to meet with me, I'd be happy to talk with you. Totally understand if you want me to kick rocks," you know?
Mm.
So, sometimes they'd say yes, sometimes they'd say no, I'd
Right.
move on. So that's recapturing past customers because they already know,
Yeah.
or some people are like, "Yeah, I would like to advertise again. My rep left and nobody
Yeah.
followed up with me." And then E is expand, and that's where you're cold calling, posting on social, going to networking. That's when you're expanding your networking. But it's so much easier to get more clients by asking for referrals from your existing clients. And not a lot of people ask for that
Right.
you know? But when you ask the question, "Hey, Esther, I really appreciate your business. If you know anybody else that's in the market for web design, marketing,
Hmm.
sales training, would you please consider giving me an introduction?" And a lot of times you're like, "Oh, actually, my friend's starting a business. They need a website designed." Or I know somebody
Right.
that needs help with sales training. Happy to make that introduction. If you don't ask, you're not going to get it.
Right.
But
Right.
getting in the habit of asking your existing
Yes.
customers for that.
Right. So we're setting the goals, breaking them down into smaller pieces, and then we're building habits around those. And from what your perspective, what do you think? Like, what is keeps people from accomplishing goals? What keeps you from like I've set this goal and I'm not accomplishing
It's
it?
not it's not the habit. They're not. So when I stopped the personal training with my friend Megan at Absolute Unit Fit, she was fantastic. She did nothing wrong. It was
Yeah.
just more of a financial decision. I noticed I wasn't doing the habits anymore.
Yeah.
I wasn't eating properly, I wasn't exercising. I noticed the scale go back up. So I saw a post on LinkedIn from my friend Patty Silbach with Precision Training Concepts, I think is the name. Her and Brian own the company. And they were doing like this 8-week challenge on an app. Proceeds go back to charity. It was very affordable. But you know what? I'm going to do this. What's nice is I love competition. So it's a point thing. You drink 64 ounces of water, you get 3 points a day. You eat 3 fruits, vegetables, you get X amount of points. You stay in touch with your accountability partner, X amount of points. So, like, I'm logging in every day. I'm doing the habits. You walk or exercise
Mm.
every day for 30 minutes, you get points, you know? So, I needed that accountability, but I think to go back to your question, it's people have the goal in mind, but they don't have a plan. They don't put it in the calendar and they don't have the habits to make it come to fruition.
Some
That's
really cool
really
things you brought in there too. Yeah, like, um, this just happened for my son. So he plays saxophone and he practices, but he really should be practicing like over 30 minutes a day. Like
yeah.
that's where he really gets. When he practices an hour a day, we see great just results in
Mhm.
his performance and his capabilities. And his instructor launched a leaderboard that all the kids can see for practice logs. So
Yeah.
you could log your practice, and he was like, "Oh, I'm going to be on top of that leaderboard. I'm number 3 now, but they like cuz like he didn't log his practice the first 2 days. So
Yeah.
he logged his practice the 3rd day and he's like a 3rd place like, "Oh, it's on." I was like, Let's destroy it. Let's destroy it." He's like, "We can get to this higher level. Let's do it."
Yeah, absolutely, and that's a motivator for some people. You know,
Sure.
some people like my 14-year-old son, he's like, "Meh, I don't care." But, like, when
Right.
I worked in radio sales, they you won, like, a really high-end vacation for being, like, the salesperson of the year. That was my goal. I was like,
Yeah.
"I wanna win this vacation
Yeah.
'cause I love to travel." So guess what? I won the vacation. I go into my boss's office, and I'm all excited. I'm like, "So where am I going?" He's like, "What do you mean, where are you going?" I'm like, where am I going on this trip? Like, I won this vacation because
Yeah.
that was announced, like, it was actually during my interview process. I said, "Are there any incentives, like sales contests?" And he called me Tibbs because my last name was Tibbins. He's like, "Oh, Tibbs." He's like, "I am so sorry." He said, "Corporate decided to, like, nix the vacation, but you get this." And he handed me a business card holder from Tiffany's. And I was just like, "What?" Like, inside, so upset. Like,
So there's another lesson learned.
not right. I mean,
If you
I'm glad I was
promise
salesperson of the year, but, like, a business card holder versus,
from
like, trip to Hawaii, like, come on.
come on, folks. Well,
Yeah,
especially when you announce it. Oh my god. That's a key thing too for businesses. Like if you set those goals and have those, and this is something I'm doing in we've started a leadership training course, but it's really good for new managers, for existing managers too. And in it, we're talking one of the modules is about trust, building psychological safety in your organization. And you you have to maintain trust. So whenever you set
yes,
those goals, you set those incentives, you set those things, not living up, not giving the support, not giving all of those things, you're not going to accomplish those goals.
yeah,
So like for my family, if I say, "Hey, we're going to spend this money and this time on bringing people over or cooking dinner," and then I don't do it or I don't let them be engaged, then we're not going to see those results. So it's not
yeah,
just about the goal setting, but it's about the execution because goals are great. I might have a goal to be president of the United States, but unless I have a plan and specific metrics that I'm meeting on a regular basis,
mhm,
something else that was really interesting that I wanted to talk about, which reminded me of this, is around um, performance goals versus process goals. Have you
mhm,
heard this? So, performance goals would be increase sales by 20%, where a process goal is I'm going to spend 1 hour making calls, or I'm
mhm,
going to spend 1 hour working on my sales pitch.
yeah,
So in the process, and it was on my other podcast, Megan Malik, who is a local therapist, and she's written a book, and she was talking about her clients. She often tells them to focus on a process goal. So I want to write a book. Oh my God, I got to write a chapter a day or so many pages a day, as opposed to I'm going to write for an hour
yeah,
every morning, 9 a.m. I'm going to write for an hour. And if a book comes out of it, so be it. So
yeah,
sometimes setting those process goals is the most important thing. And you might actually like, go beyond what
yeah,
you thought you
yeah.
were going to do because you've set a process goal.
The this I have the book sitting right in front of me. Oh, here it is, Life of Balance. So this is Ed Staub's book. He was the founder of Staub
Yeah.
and Associates, the Sandler trainers that I mention often. and he wrote this book, Life of Balance. But his daughter, Katie Kohler, told me that she remembers her dad having a spreadsheet of everything that he had to do for the day. And it was like, walk 30 minutes, do this, do this.
Yeah.
It was all these habits. And he just check marked everything at the end of the day. He was very, very meticulous about it. And that's how he lived his life every single day.
Yeah.
And I was reviewing all of the goals that I set with my friends at the beach. And I'm like, I wonder, like, should I try to create a spreadsheet like that? Because I have so many moving pieces because we
Yeah.
set goals in 8 areas of our life: spiritual, physical, emotional, mental, career, family. And it's hard to like keep track,
Mhm.
you know,
Yes.
of all of it. So it's like,
Yes.
how am I going to put this in one place where I can say, okay, every day I'm going to be mindful
Yes.
of these 8 areas of my life, you know?
Yes.
So I was
Yes.
thinking about that this morning as I was preparing for this podcast. Like maybe I should create a spreadsheet like Ed Stone
Yes.
has, you know, that would be
Yes.
helpful. And I can check it off and I'm not going to beat myself up if I don't get everything checked off.
You're right. So my executive coach, Andy Newberry with Newberry Leadership, he talks about for their personal, they do a personal like kind of state of the union visit. So he sits down with his wife and they actually go through each month. What are the goals they set? What are the current status for their
I like that.
finances? They do it as a family once a
Mhm.
month. I think that's fantastic. That's one of my things. That's my goal. My goal is to get to that point where I'm doing it. But again, I know I've gotta, like, create the plan around it. I think
The
something
one
that
problem is because that's something I want to do with my family too, but nobody's into it but me.
I
So they
know,
like come to the table like just dragging their foot, like, "Oh, mom, why
are we
we?"
gonna talk about this
But
again?
they like the outcome because
Mhm.
we asked the family, "Where do you want to vacation this year?"
Right,
Like they have input, so it's just not me and my husband deciding where, what, and where we're going to do. You know,
right,
they had the
right.
input on the golf and the bowling, and and it's now
Yes.
becoming a tradition, and Sunday family meetings with my in-laws, like Sunday family dinners. That's a
Yeah.
tradition now. But I had to be mindful and write these goals down as a
You
family.
you have to write them and track them. That's something else when we think about why people don't accomplish things. If it's not written down, like, in your brain does not count. Having
Yeah.
an idea, that's an idea. If it's not written down, it's an idea. Writing it down creates that as an actual goal. And we use a variety of systems. So, like, with my children, we have a whiteboard so we can track things like, okay, this weekend, these are the things everybody has to do because we
Yeah.
can shift that. Personally, for me professionally, I use, like, a Google Task is a simple one, or you could use Asana. There's free
Yeah.
softwares that you can use to track those kinds of goals. I do this with some of my clients, is I create that spreadsheet for them because we
Oh, can
start
you create for me?
actually, I'll send you a copy. I will 100%. If anybody's watching this and they want that, I'll show you, like, here's the template that I
'Cause
use.
that's what's holding me up is I'm not like a great spreadsheet person. I go into like
Mm.
Google Sheets and I like the ones that are already created because I'm like,
Right.
"Oh, I like this. This is pretty." But for me to
Yeah.
actually
This is
create one, I'm like,
this is
"Oh,
Part of this is easy. Yeah, and you can even so, like, for one of my clients, we actually bucketed, so she had gold around marketing, around finance, around the product that they sell, and so we group those so you can collapse them. So all you're seeing at
oh,
one point
that's
in
cool."
time is that
Yeah.
one piece that you're thinking about, and then it's just a tracking. So there's now it's you on top of that, depending how big it is, you may want actual project plan, or you're gonna wanna break these tasks down, but once a week, you can look at the set and like, what should I be working on and what tasks do I need to
Mhm.
accomplish for each one of these
Yeah.
things that I'm working on?
Yeah.
It's also really helpful. Like sometimes we create the goal and it's huge and big and meaty, and we're like, oh my God, it's so overwhelming. Well, once you break it down into smaller tasks that are specifically like sequential, so
Mhm.
these might be tasks that are like, um, I'm going to, plan, we're going to go on a vacation to Australia, which is actually one of my goals for next year.
That's so
What
cool.
is the first step that I need to do? We need to create a budget. We need to create a plan. I need to do all these things, but I'm not going to do them right now. Like, I'm not
Yeah.
going to start thinking about that till later. So, putting that in a sequence can also be really helpful because then I'm not
Absolutely.
working on everything all at once.
Absolutely. And going back to like this whole weight loss journey for me, my goal was to lose 50 pounds. I lost 35 and then I gained like 6 back since I. But for me, I've noticed that once you lose the bigger portion of it, I don't
Yeah.
know if my body feels like, "Oh, no, she's dying," or so like, I don't know what my body thinks, but it's not losing the weight. So I was talking in this accountability group, and I'm like, "Hey, I've lost this much weight, but I feel like I've really plateaued. What do I need to
Yeah.
do to, like, push the needle. And they gave great advice. So, like, try a Mediterranean diet or try cutting out carbs just for a short period of time. Make sure you're staying hydrated, which I have a hard time drinking 64 ounces of water a day because I tend to go to the bathroom a lot. So I don't like I'm on calls a lot and I can't be like,
It's hard.
oh,
Yeah.
I gotta
Seriously, I'll just tell people though. I'll be like, "Hey, I just need 5 minutes. I've been in meetings all day because 'Cause we're all been there, especially
Yeah.
in the virtual world. I
Yeah.
just have those conversations. Like, I had a client, like, there was one this is just this funny story. It wasn't the bio break, but I take my neighbor, who's 80-year-old, my neighbor across the street, and we'll go get her nails done once a
Yeah.
month so she can kinda get out and we can go visit.
That's
She's just
so
the
sweet.
sweetest human on the planet.
I love that.
And so my client at my we usually get her nails done. She wanted a pedicure too, and I was like, I might be a little late. So I literally just sent a note to my client. I was like, I've got to shift our meeting by 15 minutes so that I can take my 80-year-old neighbor to get her pedicure. Like,
And
if
there's
you're
nothing
honest
wrong
with
with that.
people, yeah,
Yeah.
if you're honest and you have that, like, I always tell people, I'm not like, I got to be like, I've been in meetings and if I don't get a bio break, I might explode.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. I like that. And people give you praise. They totally do.
People give you grace. I mean, I'd
Yeah.
rather be honest and ask for that grace. Like, yeah, because you're also asking for something. So I
Mhm.
think that people are more willing to do that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
anyway, when it comes to goal setting, also grace, I think the last thing, and I think we close with this, when it comes to goal setting, I think you also have to give grace for yourself.
Mhm.
Sometimes there are things we will not meet. There are failures that we're going to experience, and that's
Yeah.
okay. It's actually
Yeah,
okay.
and one thing I do wanna add is just having that accountability partner, you know? Like, when I set these goals with my friends on the
Mhm.
beach, um, there was some health goals that they set because we're talking about, like, late 40s and stuff, and you're getting to the point where, "Okay, I need to schedule a colonoscopy, I might need to like, hormone therapy, whatever, like, there's different
Right.
things that women go through." So, I went through their goals that I wrote on the beach, and I checked in with them, and I'm like, "Hey, did you schedule this yet? How's everything
Yeah.
going?" You know, just to hold each other accountable, and my one friend's like, "Tam, work has been absolutely crazy. I haven't, but thanks for the reminder. I need to do that." Like, a lot of times, like, you might notice a mole on your body,
Yeah.
like, that's looks weird, but you never take the time to call the dermatologist, and it takes forever to get in with the dermatologist,
Yes, it does.
and then it's like, I'm not trying to be dramatic, but it could be something really serious. So,
It could be something.
those issues, like, you don't wanna put on the back burner. You wanna just
Yeah.
take care of it, you
Right.
know?
No, I think accountability is another, like, really great way to think about it, and that's how we got this podcast started, was we
Yeah.
held each other accountable. We both had an idea, and we're like, "We'd really like to do this. Let's just do it."
Oh, I need to send you because when we met that day, I was talking about how I love doing consultations, but I, like, never charge for
Yes.
it, and I give
Oh,
everybody free
yes.
advice. I have the consultation page set up, and
Nice.
there's a place where people can just book now with me. So, I was like, "Oh, I'll need to send that page to Esther and have her
You
take
do
a
need
look
to
at
sign
it."
it.
So, thank you for
Love
that
it. Yeah.
encouragement. Yeah, it's live now, so I appreciate it. Yeah,
Awesome. Excellent. Well,
yeah.
it's been really fun. It always is talking with you, Tammy, so thanks
Yeah,
for
absolutely,
together, and
absolutely. And
I
to
hope
anyone that's listening today, like if you are struggling, if you're setting the same goals each year and you're struggling, trying to move the needle and creating those habits and stuff, we're happy to talk to you, you know. Yeah. So
absolutely,
reach
absolutely.
out.
Alright. Well, thanks, everybody. Have a great
Nice
day.
to see you. Bye bye.